Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Can you hear us back?
Try your mics though.
Okay.
Just beware.
Microphone.
Mics are on.
Yeah, well, I don't blame her. Okay, we are all here. You're all set?
Yeah.
Dwayne, you're all set? Dwayne, you're all set? You're good to go? Karen, you can hear us? Tim? All right, I think that's everybody. Is there anybody else? Are there any other administrators? Kelly or Mr. Folsang? Oh, Lindsay doesn't have sound. Okay, she's calling Dwayne.
She did. He's just saying.
If people from the public are watching right now, we're just trying to get all of our team hooked up.
Oh, live?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Yeah.
Yep. This is as of today's the number of cases in every age group. This is how many actually made ICU.
Oh my
This is how many died in each age group. And then I calculated these percentages based on, so this is this range, and this goes all the way
I have no sound.
That's Wisconsin data as of today. You can get that every day. So, yeah.
It's over there, and you can see it going up and
I'm
down.
just gonna mute this.
So we can hear them. Oh, she's.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I look at it, we look at it every day. It takes
You
a
just,
second.
it's just a Wisconsin.
You go to, it's called DHS, like DeSoto High School,
Yeah.
and it shows you how many were tested every day, what percentage of those tested were positive. You know, pretty neat to see.
Yeah.
Like, remember a few weeks ago when they were saying Wisconsin's 2 weeks after the Supreme Court striking something at all.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
Wisconsin has its highest. Well, that day we tested like 2,200 more people than we tested any other day. And by percentage of positives, it was lower than numerous other days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lindsay, can you hear us?
Yep, we've got some sound. Thank you.
All right, so we're good. And everybody else that you're expecting to be here is here administratively?
Yes, Tim is here, Karen's here. I think Betsy and Guy are joining us. Mr. Olson will not be here tonight, but I think Mr. Folsang should be.
You're here, Mr. Folsang? All right. Okay, with that, then I'll call to order the regular board meeting of the DeSoto Area School District, Monday, June 15th, 2020 at 7:04 p.m. in the middle school, high school cafeteria. Roll call, please, Gary?
Jess?
Yes.
Gary, yes. Kirk?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Doris?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, proof of giving public notice, please, Ms. Grunning?
The meeting was publicized by posting on the school doors, banks, and post offices in DeSoto, Ferryville, Genoa, and Stoddard, Pronto and DeSoto, Ferryville, Cheese Store in Ferryville, and Red Mound Store on June 12, 2020, printed in the broadcaster on the same date, and broadcast over WVRQ radio.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the agenda as presented then? I make that motion. Motion by Jess, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Did we have any public comments submitted?
We did not have any submitted. However, I did receive a phone call from a parent who was interested in communicating her desire to work with the school to address curriculum and other areas of education that we could do to ensure our students were aware of current issues and trends and topics that are impacting the public at large right now and that we're all aware of through social media. And I assured her that administration had already been talking about a curriculum review, any potential training that we needed to do, and enlisting students and families as we address the issues that impact society, our community, and the country.
Okay, thank you. Our next piece, item of business is the committee reports. There was
Yes, thank you. We had a Building and Grounds and Transportation Committee that met on June 10th, and we had a presentation that Guy, I'm sure, will go into in further detail in his report on LED lighting upgrade that would save the district considerable money over the long term and certainly pay the investment back to do this upgrade. We had information on a roofing bid. As you know, we have had multiple leaks over the years that we've continued to try to patch, and we are looking at a bid that would replace the roof in its entirety over the middle school and high school. A cooling tower is necessary for the old gym right now, air conditioning plus handler unit, and Guy will speak to that further in the presentation. We've also had to pre-order bulk hand sanitizer and other supplies to ensure that we could hopefully have delivery in time for the school year. The bulk sanitizer is a cooperative effort between multiple school districts to try to get the price down by working together on our ordering of supplies. We addressed the middle school, high school dishwasher that is needed by food service, and there's transportation reentry information from our bus company in regards to guidance they're receiving from the Wisconsin School Bus Association.
Does anybody have any questions? With that, we'd move on to business then. The first item is the approval of receipts and expenditures.
I did not receive any questions on prior to the start of the board meeting on the expenditures or the receipts that came in for this past month.
Did anybody have any other questions they wanted to ask? If not, we need a motion to approve the receipts and expenditures. Motion by Darius to approve them, seconded by Kirk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the minutes dated 5/18/20. Ask for a motion to approve the minutes. There are no questions. Motion by Ryan, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then we have resignations, hiring, transfers, and approval of volunteers.
Yes, thank you. Sarah Fruit, who's been our JV volleyball coach, has asked to resign from the position for this school year. Ellen Moon, who has been our middle school and high school vocal and instrumental music teacher, has asked to resign from her teaching position. So she will not be returning next year or beyond that. And we would like to recommend the hiring of Jake Ryder for head cross-country coach. There were no submissions for volunteers at this time. We would like to extend our sincerest appreciation to Sarah for her work as a volleyball coach and to Mrs. Moon for her contributions as an educator and someone who truly ensured that our concerts were of high quality, as well as our assemblies with special guests and special music performances. So we are very grateful for their service in those capacities.
We need a motion then to approve those resignations and hirings. Motion by Kevin Walliser, seconded by Darius. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is donations. We have a donation. Are there any other donations besides the Booster Club donation for the food pantry?
That is the only one that I'm aware of tonight, but again, a very generous donation from the DeSoto Booster Club, which supports not only athletics, but obviously causes of this nature. They earlier this year gave us an extremely generous donation, so all those mini coolers could be utilized by the food service department for distribution of meals and milk and juices to our students throughout the remainder of the school year. And so we're very grateful that they expand their support beyond athletics and activities to meeting the needs of all program areas.
Okay. We need a motion then to accept that donation. Motion by Brent, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Are there still no Fund 80 requests at this time? Oh, here it says no requests have been received, but I must.
Yes, we received one today. And so Mr. It was a request, Mr. Fulsang,
Yep.
and it was provided in your folder. So I'll let Mr. Fulsang speak to that if he would be so kind.
I thought they were gonna throw it on next month, so here we are. The Stoddard Kid Fishing Tournament's been going on for 18 years. I think Mr. Young started, and we've been doing it for 3 years. And every year you guys help out a little bit to buy door prizes. Last year we bought medals for 2 years. And it's just a really fun event. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get us all together during it, but we're gonna have some sort of weigh-in on our Facebook page, and then the kids can come pick up their medals and awards down at the boat landing on July 18th.
It's always a good event.
Yep.
So we need a motion to approve the Fund 80 request. Motion by Jeff Long, seconded by Kirk Holliday. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for supporting.
Yes, thank you for all the work you
Thank you
do.
for doing it.
Yeah,
It's a fun event.
okay. So for board committee assignments, for buildings, grounds, and transportation, it's going to, Darius, you're going to be on that committee. And otherwise, the other members that are on there, I will be an alternate, and the rest of the crew will stay on there. So then for curriculum and technology, it'll be the 3 people that were on it, Jeff, Ryan, and we'll add Brent to that. Finance and personnel will be Brent, Gary, Jeff, and Rick. And then, let me see here, I think I got it right here for the last one. And then the policy committee will be Jess, Gary, Brent, and I'll be an alternate on that. Okay. And I can give you, did you get those that fast?
Well,
Okay.
I don't know who was originally on the
Oh,
building and grounds.
Okay, here's buildings and grounds.
Okay.
So it'll just be, I'm the,
Your alternate and then.
okay, yep, and then, yep. Okay, any questions? Everybody all right with that? Good. All right. So then the next item of business is the extended teacher contracts.
Yes, thank you very much. When we approved the teacher contracts in April, we had neglected to include the extended contracts that Mrs. Bark and Mrs. Rapprager received each summer. And so we, even though those were included within the contract amounts, because they are separately signed, we wanted to make sure we brought them forward to the school board. So these are for the 2020-21 school year. The summer work that is done by Mrs. Bark with the Ag Department and FFA activities, as well as Mrs. Rappringer with the master scheduling and enrolling of new students and preparing for the start of the school year.
And just to clarify, these are standard additional extra duty contracts. That this isn't unique to this year or anything.
This
so
is not,
everybody-
that would be correct. It's not unique to this year. This is normally something that is brought out with their other contracts. The dollar amount was included, but the individual contract itself wasn't. And so we wanted to make sure that those were addressed at a board meeting.
Any questions? Need a motion? Jeff Long makes a motion to approve the extended teacher contracts. And, Kevin Wallace seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so item 7.8, the 2020-2021 DPI food service contract.
Yes, Betsy is probably on, but I think she's still waiting some information until that's received. We're going to table this till July. And Betsy, if you have anything to add, I see you're there, so please feel free to jump in if I didn't cover it all.
Nope, I think you got it for right now. We'll keep you posted on that.
All right, thank you, Betsy.
Yep.
Then we'd move along to the 2020-2021 audit engagement letter.
Yes, we are required to engage a auditing firm for our annual audit. Our recommendation is to continue our work with Tostrud and Temp, who have been our auditors for many years. Their engagement letter is in your packet, and that would be my recommendation, that we continue our work with them. Specifically, since we do have our business manager has retired from working in our district, and so I think it's very imperative that we maintain this continuity.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jess Boardman to continue that audit, or accept that audit engagement letter. Seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business is the open enrollment application. Applications.
As you're aware, there is an open enrollment period that was extended this year due to COVID-19. Enclosed is a list of current and new open enrollment students for 2020-21. We need you to indicate approval or denial for these students. Of the 19 new open enrolled in students, 14 have indicated they are interested in our virtual charter school, as DeSoto is one of their choices. Of the 9 new open enrolled out students, only 3 are current students who are considering leaving the district. We will not know the specifics of attendance until the fall. But I invite Mrs. Moline to add any comments she may have in respect to any of the requests that have been made.
There was just one student in which we'll be receiving a denial letter based on the request due to my ability to have reviewed their IEP, and they're requiring services in which they were services that we have to contract out for, including speech and language and OT. Therefore, though we don't have any limits set, they fall within the state requirements and guidelines, the statutes, I should say, in which they are required to be denied. So the one will be receiving a denial letter after tonight's meeting.
So we would ask Mr. Pedretti that we have a motion and a second to approve the open enrollment applicants along with the denial of the one applicant that Mrs. Moline indicated.
Does anybody have any questions on the list? If not, then we'd ask for that motion to approve the one and deny the other. And the motion is made by Darius and seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our next item is the 2020-2021 school year reopening plan draft.
I am going to try to share my screen here. And so See how that works. Okay, the board has a copy of a draft that looks like DeSoto Area School District School Reopening Plan, September 1st, 2020. The reason that we see draft there is because this was certainly a work in progress, but primarily because the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction has not, as of yet, released their reopening plan guidance for school districts. So we are taking the information that we have, that we can acquire from different associations that we are members of, the health departments, the state health department, the CDC, and we are trying to build our own reopening plan. Again, still waiting for the guidance of the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. I'm going to switch here to the document. And so just to review this document that you have in your packet, we form committees, staff, teacher, and administrative committees. Their names are at the end of the document. I'm sincerely very appreciative of the work and effort that went into this. We decided on categories of protocols that we would need to follow in reopening our school. And we focused on those. And so the initial one here is health and wellness protocols. We are looking at infection control practices. Obviously, many of these the public is very, very familiar with because they have been made aware of them through the health department, both the state, the CDC, and our local health departments. But those are the guidance that we have and will be following. Determining supply lists of things that we need to have, both in our school buildings as well as in our vehicles, our school vehicles, our school buses, and at any of our facilities where we have any special programming like athletic events is something that we've done. We also recognize that we have to train our teachers and staff on the symptoms, to be aware of what those are, and on proper prevention techniques for spreading any viruses. So we do have training protocols that will be in place. Also training and providing information to students and families on, how to look at what symptoms that they should be keeping an eye out for, and what preventative measures are in place, and the benefits of wearing personal protective equipment. So we will do that in-house at school, and we will also provide this information on their website through links, from videos to resource pamphlets and flyers. Continuing on, there's home health screening and monitoring. We are strong partners with our families and parents, and we believe it's essential that our parents and guardians address those health issues at home prior to the student leaving for school. So we are going to provide parents with information on symptoms, a temperature of 100.4 or higher, and the things that they need to be looking at for any type of illness, much less COVID-19, so that screening is done at home. There was a thought that maybe screening could occur by bus drivers who could check students as they were getting on the bus. But we know that if kids are outside, the temperature may impact the reading of a temperature when it's done by a forehead. So if it's very cold outside, a student may have a low temperature when they actually are not feeling well. So we know that isn't an ideal scenario, as well as coming into school with hundreds of students arriving at a fairly similar amount of time, that we feel we are best able to address illnesses that students become aware of once they're here. But that preventative screening, we believe, is most importantly done at home prior to the child leaving to get on the bus or walking to school or entering the school building. So if we can work in partnership with parents and have that screening occur first at home, we can certainly do any follow-up screening if a child gets ill at school. And we think for the most part, that is the normal routine that parents follow. You know, they check their children every morning and make sure that they're ready and healthy to go to school. And that seems to work out well. And so we'd like to continue that process. The next area we addressed in our reopening plan was learning environments. How do we maintain a safe and healthy learning environment? And again, those guidelines or recommendations are in place for the social distancing. There are many of them that we can reference to go by, and we will follow those recommendations and guidance that were given. That will also mean a training of staff, a training of our teachers, custodial, maintenance, and our support staff. In our learning environment as well, the infection control with engineering and administrative controls, those things are going to follow into the classroom, how we set up our classrooms, if we put up any plexiglass barriers, installing hand sanitizer in every room, installing hand sanitizer when there are large group activity areas such as a volleyball game or a basketball game in our gym. And again, keeping supply lists so that we have every classroom or learning place having the adequate supplies that they need. In the academics portion, we recognize that our reentry plan has to focus on the potential for maintaining virtual learning independently, coming to school normally, which is what we would all prefer happen, or having some blended format. And that blended format may be a personal family decision where families say, you know, for whatever reason, I prefer to keep my child at home and learning at home. And there are many reasons for that. Some families have children who have underlying medical conditions. Some families are just not comfortable returning them to a more public environment. And some families may want to hold out until there's a vaccine in place and they can ensure that their child has some better preventative options than just what we are able to provide in place. Again, training is a component of academics. We have done surveys of our families. We have done surveys of our staff, and those things are helping us to understand what families need to have if there is virtual learning, continuing in any format, blended or fully. Our teachers also need additional training for the tools that they're using, the new video formats, and the video platforms that allow for editing. Academically, our learning community is something that we want to provide our staff with additional opportunities to network together. So our grade level teachers or our department core content teachers are meeting to discuss how do we best meet the needs, how do we ensure that essential learning is taking place, how do we put in the assessment systems that we need to let us know if students need intervention or if they need to be advanced and have some enrichment and that learning is taking place. We are very appreciative of the fact that our teachers initiated those very important assessments to give us that database, because as we look forward at the CARES money that is being distributed nationally and to states and then to schools, we understand the importance of having that student academic data to guide the purchases of either program supplies, educational materials, or training for teachers as well as families on how we move forward with that. And having data that tells us if our learners progress and advance versus if we, have some gap areas is essential to us making those important decisions. The next area is technology, equipment. We do know from parent surveys that if this virtual learning occurs at home in some format, that parents think that more devices will be needed so that students don't have to share, or that parents don't have to share devices with students if they are also working from home. There is, Mr. Grunning will probably share tonight that it's very challenging to order the equipment we need right now. Prices have truly skyrocketed. and the quantities that you can order are very limited. But again, we are assessing the technology needs that have been expressed by students, parents, as well as our teachers. Service, how we provide service to families to ensure that the hotspots are available to our students who don't have good internet connection, and why that has been a very small population that has needed that. We want to do what we can to ensure that they have it right away if we have to resume remote learning. And we recognize that remote learning is a part of our technology etiquette, and that the expectations we have at school are also those that happen when students use Chrome equipment, laptops, and are part of virtual learning. And we do recognize that we have to review that with parents and students and provide that training. Handbooks, policies, and guidelines. As we wait for the DPI to release their guidance, we know that when we receive that we are going to have to do some handbook revisions for student parent handbook, for some of our school practices and policies, for a normal school day and guidelines as well. And in addition to our teachers, that we need to examine that employee handbook. There certainly are areas that come into play with exposure to COVID and how this will play out with extended sick leave days. And so there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed that we will be working on over the next month. Communication, we know, is crucial, and why we did use School Messenger, why teachers would email students through their Gmail accounts and set up phone conferences and virtual meetings, and why we did have on our website a very thorough amount of information. We still recognize that continuing to work on different methods of communication is essential as we provide information to families, to our staff, and to students in the community. And so we are looking at potentially doing registration in August, not in person, but potentially looking at registration being something that is handled through mailings and use of online tools. We will continue to survey families and students and staff to try to obtain feedback so that we can continue a plan for continuous improvement in how we deliver our services and our education. We are looking at some social media, and Mrs. Moline and Mr. Fulsang can speak to a district Facebook page that has recently been started as another tool for us to provide information. And then to not only continue to use School Messenger, but encourage parents to rely on the email and the text messaging and the phone call. They can choose all three, or they can choose a preferred method, or they can choose two. And we definitely want to make sure that everyone is signed up, so because that is pretty much the fastest way for us to get information out to people. And then to better use our educational channel, not only to provide repeated lessons that can be uploaded, but information and other videos. The transportation area, Southwest Transportation has purchased a disinfecting sprayer, and so our school buses will be disinfected after the morning route and then again every evening after the evening route. However, they did note that they are receiving information from the Wisconsin School Bus Association that if social distancing, or what we call physical distancing, is a requirement and is in place, that will limit the passenger count to approximately 15 students per bus. And that means that we have to look at how we can get students to school. Are there parents who are interested in driving their students to school anyways to avoid a more crowded bus scenario? Are students able to transport to school with their older siblings? Or do we have to create more shuttles? Or because of the limits in the busing transportation, do we have to look at some type of alternative scheduling for educating in-house in our school buildings. We're also looking at the extracurricular component. A lot of our coaches or advisors will use our Suburbans to drive smaller groups of students or smaller teams. If social distancing is in place, that may not be possible for us to use those vehicles to serve those purposes. And so we are awaiting further guidance on this as well. This area encompassing learner needs means that it is something that we have believed wholeheartedly in our vision and mission of educating students here. It is not just academics, and it is not just the extracurricular activities. It is the whole child. How do we support them with all of their needs, whether they're emotional, through counseling, mental health, through additional support systems available in the community, through food, if their families and our students need more food, how can we ensure that they get it, and work with other community food banks and agencies and churches who can help with that. How do they acquire the proper dental care? We do have that Bridging Brighter Smiles, which is something that offers dental care at reduced or free cost to our students. But how do we ensure that when that service isn't available twice a year, that if there is needed care, that they're getting those services? And so we look at the whole child and what we can do to ensure that they feel safe at school, safe at home, and have the services they need. And so this is an area that we feel is very important to any educational component of what we do, but most certainly to a reopening plan where students have expressed some fear for coming to school, as well as great longing to be back at school with their teachers and their friends. So this will involve some additional training and implementation. You may be aware that we were one of the front runners regionally of any schools who trained our teachers in an 8-hour session of mental health first aid. We now have teachers who will be taking, as part of our DOJ, Department of Justice School Safety Grant, we have to educate 10% of our teaching staff in each building on adolescent mental health first aid, and that's a 2-day training program, 16 hours of training. We believe that's very important, and it's very important to serving the needs of our students. Our staff has also been trained in trauma-informed care and crisis prevention intervention. We are one of the few districts that certainly probably the only one regionally that has a staff person who's a certified instructor and can offer that training to our staff, and that's Mrs. Moline. This other area, the last area in our plan is for surround care. We realize that families are reliant on those services that we offer, but we also recognizing that the space that we have may not be adequate for the numbers. And so we will look at not only how we can repurpose our own space, but how possibly we could use community spaces to address the number of families who would like their children to be in surround care before the start of the school day and then following the school day. And the last page here, I would just like to draw attention to the members of our staff and teachers and administrators who served on different committees. And we anticipate that those committees may expand when we see the DPI reopening plan guidance, as well as we shift and look at what we're doing. One of the things Mrs. Moline shared today was the idea that we take this plan as we further develop it and set up scenarios and do a tabletop discussion. If this is the scenario, how does our plan help us guide it, so that we can address if there are some gap areas in that plan as well. And so again, it is a starting point. We certainly do anticipate more work on this and to bring this back to the board at the July meeting, because we do assume that by then we will have received the DPI's guidance. And I will say that the challenge in all of this is that we get two things. You can either have guidance or guidelines. You can have recommendations or regulations. Right now, what we are receiving is guidance and recommendations. It's not a guideline or recommendation. And the question I had for the attorneys is why is this information coming to us, and that we're being held accountable to best practices based on guidance and recommendations. And frankly, there was the information that I received back was because none of these cases have yet been tested in court. And until they're tested in court, those guidelines or those regulations don't get formalized. So right now, we have to follow the guidance that we receive from our local health departments, the guidance we receive from law enforcement, the guidance we receive from our own school attorneys, and our state associations, as well as the Wisconsin DPI. So thank you, and I welcome any of our other administrative team members who are here to add to this presentation if I didn't cover everything adequately.
Anybody?
That was very good.
Anyway, thank you very much. That's it's a lot to have to think about. So, well done.
I would need to, if we could approve this draft plan so that we could move forward with this, I would certainly appreciate that.
I'd ask, we need a motion to approve this draft plan of the DeSoto Area School District reopening. Motion by Kevin, second by Kirk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and thanks for all the thoughtfulness that went into it. Okay, our next item is the high school credit requirements, 7.12.
Mr. Ferguson, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I would appreciate it if you would like to chip in and help me with that one, as I sort through all my paperwork to find it.
Sure. I think our proposal here, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Browning, is to reduce our current number of credits required for graduation from 26 down to 24 for the next 2 years. So that would be for this coming year's senior class and this coming year's junior class, with the idea that we may put this in place permanently. But we feel like this is really important to mitigate any harm that may have been done by the school closure for students that really struggled with working online or working virtually. And there are some. So we would like to, we would hope that we can put this forward and make it a little bit easier for our students to make it through in these really difficult times.
We anticipate that, there's a potential for some school closure periods to occur, or for some students to need to learn from home for whatever reason, whether they're ill or whether it's just by a personal family choice. And so this doesn't prevent students from taking more credits or more electives. They certainly may take all that they would like to, but what it does change is the graduation requirements, which still are some of the highest in the area. Even going to 24 credits, we have more than the lacrosse schools do. So we're just asking for this consideration so that if students need it, they will be able to focus on their core classes and their preferred enrichment classes so that they can graduate on time. And again, this does not limit them. They can take 26 credits. They can certainly take more if they like.
Is there any other requirements that needed to be looked at, like community service or any other?
Community service, I think we can definitely take a look at that. Just off the top of my head, the senior class this coming year's senior class was pretty good and where they're at community service wise. But yeah, we may have to take a look at that as well. That's a good point.
One of the things that students are able to do is do a lot of community service virtually. And so we encourage those possibilities as well. from public service announcements that we can put on our own educational channel for those who are pretty good at web design or have some other, abilities to promote charitable causes or concerns or things that they are interested in. So there are certainly potentials, and we would appreciate that option to come back to if we feel it is a concern. At this time right now, the majority of our students have more than 20 hours normally when they graduate. So unless we hear it's a real barrier to being able to do some goodwill for the community, we'll just hold it there and we'll keep you posted.
Sounds good. Okay, are there any other questions? We have a motion to approve this reduction in credits. Motion by Darius, seconded by Brent. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the transportation reentry information.
I think I did already cover it, so I apologize for doing that. You don't necessarily have to make a motion, but I just wanted you to be aware that that is what Southwest Transportation is considering, is the recommendations by the School Board Association. And as we wait on DPI's guidance, as well as local health department's guidance on if we are able to transport students more closely together on the buses. I think we have time yet to approve anything that we need to at future board meetings. But one of the things that we take a look at right now is what they call a compass analysis of different counties and communities, and our neighboring communities may be in the green as far as hospitalization, as far as number of diagnosed cases, as far as number of reported cases, or they could be in the orange, or they could be in the red, or the yellow, or the red. We are examining that. We'll examine what the health department says, DPI guidelines, and then come forward with continued reports.
Okay, thank you. The next item then would be the cooling tower for the old gym air conditioning system.
This would be Guy, so we need to switch to Guy.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Good. Everybody can hear me then and everything's good?
Yep.
So the old gym air handler and cooling tower. We had Bernie Buckner come down just to kind of give us a budget number, looking into things. The issue is the current model that we have is capable of cooling with 60 tons. And realistically only need something that cools 20 to 25 tons. It's short cycling, so it's kind of burning itself up. With the air handler unit that we have, our air is not distributed good enough. It's not big enough. And they just kind of gave us some numbers to look into this. He did not make it till Friday, so it's kind of, we're really just kind of starting to look into this. It's something that we'll have to revisit again. But when he gives really good budget numbers, then we can always look at this again down in the future. Something that we just need to think about.
We had in our notes about, is this something you want to wait a whole month on though, or is this something you'd want to take action on? We had some comments in the notes about maybe approving an amount up to a certain number of dollars, or?
I would think realistically from what I see and everything, what they're telling us, we're talking about $100,000. If we need to approve for that, or we can wait and we can visit this again.
I think you said that wrong. I think you said $100,000. I think it's 10, isn't it?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to revisit this at some other time. I think they're just starting to look into this. This is something we need to revisit at a later date.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that then.
Yep.
So we'll just move on to the next item, which is the UW, thanks, Guy, the UW Oshkosh CAP agreement.
Yes, thank you. Every year, we ask the school board to approve our agreement with UW Oshkosh. Mandy Boardman offers a 5-credit biology course through UW Oshkosh, and we pay the university $100 per credit for our students who take it, and so that is what the agreement continues. We do have agreements with WTC. However, because of the funding, WTC doesn't charge us, and we don't have to pay them for the credits that our students take through dual credit with WTC. But the university system we do, that is an extremely cost-effective credit for us as well as our students who do not pay for anything at all. So we'd like approval so we can continue to offer this very valid course.
We got a motion by Kevin to approve the agreement, seconded by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yep, that's a good deal. And our final item is community facility use. Item of business.
In your extra packet, I just wanted you to see the facility use form. And on the second page or the back side, one of the notations in there is item 06, and it states the responsibility and liability for the health, welfare, and safety of all persons during this contracted activity is the responsibility of the above stated organization and the organization's designee as indicated by signature at the end of this document. So when a community member requests use of our facility and they fill this out, they are in turn assuming the responsibility for the health, safety, and welfare of their use of the facility. And that is why when we have very large group activities, we require, our insurance company requires us, when we host like the youth wrestling in our facility, our insurance company requires us to be listed as a secondary insured due to the risk of that particular activity. But with COVID-19, you know, that health, well-being, and safety become even more poignant because as people come in to use the facility, who is then responsible for disinfecting it following that use? And are there related costs with that? And there certainly are, because it would be our personnel that would have to come in with our equipment and our disinfectant. If they were using like the gym or some areas, and outside areas are not necessarily going to be feasible to do that unless you're looking at disinfecting potentially dugouts or benches. So I just want the board to be aware that as we approve these, we have in the past put in estimated costs that you can see at the bottom of the form for facility fees, food service custodial fee, other fees. And that is something that we may have to look at doing, is putting in those type of fees. We don't charge our community members to use the facility. In other words, if they want to use the gym on a given evening, there's no charge for them to use the gym. But we may need to look at people sharing in the cost to cover the disinfectant and the time that our custodians have to do that. In talking with our insurance company, in order to maintain our insurance, we need to put these protocols into place and assure that when there is use, that there is a cleaning and disinfecting process that occurs after the use. Now, Guy could probably speak to the fact that some of these disinfectants that aren't necessarily over the counter require training and require proper handling. And so it's not like we could set out our sprayer with the disinfectant in there and have just any member of the public pick it up and go over their areas. Our staff are trained to know what to do, where to put it, the product, how to mix up the product, and how to administer the product. We also, when we look at the use of the weight room, we know that there are sports teams that are going to want to come in to use that. And I did speak with our insurance company about that. And their suggestion is that in order to allow that to occur, that we set up like tea times. We set up a time when individuals can come in under the supervision of their coaches, a limited number of individuals, and those individuals will need to be trained in the proper use of the cleaning products that are in the weight room to wipe them down before and after use. So we are all going to need to be stewards of preventative measures to ensure diseases and illnesses are not spread. If we look to open that facility to community use, again, the same things would need to occur. That those individuals would have to be tea timed in so that they have a specific time when they're in that particular facility, and that they are responsible for pre-cleaning and post-cleaning after the use of those facilities that will get disinfected then, potentially at the end of the night or the following morning when custodians come on staff. Again, the other thing that we will receive for at least the Strength and Conditioning Center, our insurance company will be sending us a waiver because it will be at your own risk. It already is as far as managing the equipment, you know, that you are using those equipment pieces at your own risk. However, in this case, we cannot ensure that if we open it up to the community that we can fully prevent the spread of COVID-19 or any illness for that matter. And so the risk acknowledgement needs to be expanded to indicate that people are aware of the risk and accept the risk for the privilege of using the facility. I don't know if Guy wants to add anything to that or not. The other thing regarding facility use, in the past, we've been very good at sharing our equipment, and in the future, we will expect that if you are using volleyballs, that you bring your own, and if you're using basketballs, that you bring your own, rather than school equipment. And again, that goes to disinfecting and being able to control who's handling the equipment and to ensure that it is ready for either physical education or our own sports teams. That would be all I have on that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? If not, then we move along to reports. You guys can take your pick.
Derek, would you like to start this evening? And then I have information the board has in their packet, what Kelly had prepared for the DeSoto Summer School. But he thought you could speak to that, or I can help if you need that.
No, we're excited about summer school. It started today. It's going to go for 3 weeks till July 3rd. We have 9 classes, I think. Anything from the Great Baking Show to Miss Boardman's doing a science class. I'm doing an outdoor class. Our numbers started a little slow, but now we're averaging over 16 to 18 kids per class. So we're excited about it, and the teachers are excited about it. So it's an opportunity for us to try something new and get some more tech going. I know Mr. Groning's challenging me a little bit with my new GoPro, and we're just excited to try new things and get kids excited about learning about something other than reading and writing. I think he gave you a list of all the classes so you can see who's teaching them and kind of get a feel for what summer school is looking like virtually. I think right now for in-school summer school starting July 27th, I think, we have already 32 kids signed up. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of parents ready to send those kids back to school in late July.
Mr. Olson mentioned that there are an average of 18 students per class, and so he's pretty excited about that. Yeah,
we got a whole virtual website set up, and everybody has their link to the site. So you can go on the DeSoto district page and see some of that stuff too.
Do you know roughly how that corresponds to participation in previous years?
Kelly mentioned it certainly is significantly lower, than we've had in previous years, but because what we would do in previous years started at 8 in the morning and went till 1 in the afternoon. So, this is individual sessions. So while the numbers look very, very good for each session, we just don't have that continuity of numbers that we can use for those FTEs that start at 8 o'clock and we have a full 6-hour day.
I think after looking at minutes, though, he was happy to see that we'd probably get over 1 FTE. So I thought he was excited, so I was too.
And just for the public who may be listening, these virtual sessions include sign language, story time fun, outdoor education, the Great DeSoto Baking Show, exploring our community, gnomes, trolls, and fairies, drawing, painting, and sculpture, reading adventures with Frog and Toad, thinking like a scientist, exploring your future career, ukulele lessons, and band and instrument lessons. So there are 30-minute band and instrument lessons also being provided that students can sign up for.
And we did deliveries today. Lots of kids got packages with art stuff and baking stuff, and so I think they will be pretty excited when they get that today.
Thank you. Anything more, Derek, from you?
No, we really enjoyed the end of the year just by putting on a couple cool videos. I don't know if you got a chance to see them, but I was really excited to put together some of the videos for end of the year stuff. So I hope the kids were excited about it, and it gave us a little closure to the end of the year. I know preschool had a really fun little picture video, and kindergarten put on a video for Stoddard too. So kind of gave us a little feeling of the year being over, really, even though it was a little different. So proud of the teachers who put in time for those things. And we had a nice end of the year virtual learning experience too, where we and Dwayne can share some of this, but I thought it went really well, and teachers shared cool stuff that they were doing through the virtual teaching, and I thought that was fun to do on the last day too for in-service.
Thank you, Derek. Betsy, would you like to chime in? We'll make Dwayne have to do his remote switching real quick here.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So summer meals started today, and they will run through July 3rd as well. We're only delivering meals Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. On Mondays, we're only providing Monday meals. On Tuesday, we'll provide Tuesday and Wednesday meals. And then on Wednesday, we'll provide Thursday and Friday meals. As of late today, we had about 259 kids signed up so far. And I'm still encouraging families to sign up if they haven't already. So families can still go to the district website and go under coronavirus updates and sign up under there if they would like meals started. I have applied for the Action for Healthy Kids grant. Our application has been deferred and may be reconsidered if more funds become available. I'm assuming that, they had a lot of people applying for these funds just because we're all in the same boat right now. So hopefully, we'll be considered at a later time if the funds become available. And then Hillary Bark, I just wanted to give you a heads up. She did receive a $500 Rally to Fight Hunger grant, and she will be providing summer sausage, a block of cheese, and a sleeve of crackers to be going home with the school lunches starting next week, hopefully. So that'll be nice. Families should enjoy that. And that's all I've got for right now.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy. Mrs. Moline.
All right. Well, since our last gathering here at the school board meeting, we've had was with the school closure, we've had 5 IEP meetings or service plan meetings, which have all happened either virtually, accommodating families either over the phone, through Google Meets, or some that have requested Zoom to best meet the needs of private schools and other families. We've had one 504 meeting. In addition to all of those, I've worked a lot on different funding aspects. So under the funding criteria here, I will areas. One is the end of the year purchases to continue to improve access and better meet our needs of students, especially those that are changing grade levels at the elementary, or those that are switching from middle school to high school or from elementary to middle school. So making sure that assistive technology, devices, and all the things are in place for those students as they come into these new classrooms. We've looked at other information for our carryover for federal funding, in particular in the area of special education, because those guidelines are a little bit different than Title. And there's currently a proposal out there for any special education carryover, which you can normally have 27 months to extend and use that purchases for that money. There is a proposal to have that extended an additional 12 months or 1 year. So we'll see where that goes, which would be somewhat nice because we don't exactly know how we'll be even starting the year, though we have some ideas and what we'd like to have happen. Or if we end up having closures again, students need different things so that we can best service them in whatever environment that they're in. Additionally, with the first part of summer school and extended school year being virtual or at home, we've had to allocate funds and come up with different creative plans to meet individual needs. So we've worked on that. In addition, now moving into new budget allocations, including our titles. So Title 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those allocations, in addition to special education, are all out as preliminary notices for our 2020-2021 school year. Just a quick update, the only big change is going to be in Title I funding, which we're very pleased with the new allocation amount, which is definitely a significant increase compared to what we've had, and we're excited so that we can continue to maintain the things that we are doing because our funding was very tight to help carry out our current Title I plan that the school board approves annually. And then again, summer school, as we move into hopefully returning to brick and mortar for that for second session, we're looking at how we're going to provide equal access to that to students who maybe have health concerns or other things that we need to take into considerations for access. And then again, the last kind of funding area that I want to talk about tonight is our district worked on the transition grant, which students who are out of high school for 1 year, we're able to call and do a survey after we're trained, or we can have UW Oshkosh assist us with that. And we have 3 of our own district staff, myself included, who are certified to do that. And in years past, so the student, in order to meet the criteria, must have had an IEP for at least 6 months prior to graduation. And then they must agree to complete the survey, either them or their parents, on the phone. This data is extremely important for us in our department and our school district, and how we can continue to improve services and also celebrate the things that we're doing well and allocate the funds for where that for the things that aren't working. In the past, we've definitely taken advantage of this, and this year we didn't think we'd be eligible because you aren't typically eligible when you undergo some monitoring or self-review, which is on a 5-year cycle. However, they have since dropped that by DPI and put us a 1 year out in that compliance. So they extended that grant, and we were able to participate in that. And I'm happy to announce that we've had 9 of our 10 students already participate in that. So very excited by that positive turnout, and we have until the end of summer to complete that. So I anticipate we'll be at 100% before summer's out. Mrs. Groning and all of our teachers that participate in educator effectiveness have worked together to complete the survey as part of our requirement, as that's due here today. and a couple other things that we've been working on, including the CARES Act funding. Mrs. Groning and I have worked numerous amounts of time on that already. Reentry plans, as she's mentioned, and then Opal, the school nurse, and I are continuing to talk about health plans for students and what that could look like to better meet the needs of those students as they hopefully will be returning to school. Last but not least, last school board meeting, I talked about the family and parent feedback as part of our self-review and our compliance for that and certain numbers that we needed to maintain. Happy to announce that even amongst all of the COVID-19, based on our secretarial staff and myself and principals and teachers talking about how important this information is, families collaborated with us and they teamed up, and we had more than 2 times the required participation, almost reaching that 3 times our requirement. So we're really excited about that. And it's unfortunate because once that was done, DPI then came out with new guidance and they said it was no longer required because it was but was nearing the deadline. So we are still excited to see those results and put all that into place, as it's really important when we are able to collect that data to help our students and our families and our staff. And like I said, celebrate the things that we're doing well and continue to implement that, but build on the things that we know we can improve on then based on that feedback. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen. I will say that the educator effectiveness survey, which is being conducted by UW Milwaukee, I was informed today that it has been extended to the end of the month. So our teachers who are still completing that have time to do so, and we appreciate that participation on their level. Guy, are you ready to pop back in and share any additional information?
All right, everybody hear me again?
Yep.
All right, we're just going to touch base on report for the month. Our Hilliard order, which we usually order a month later than now, we actually had to put in time just to make sure that we got all of our stuff. Most of this stuff is stuff we use every year. There is, hand sanitizer, extra stuff for the COVID and that we did have to order now to make sure that we did get it for the school year. So that's why that order is just kind of a little bit early this year. Nothing's really different besides just some more stuff for disinfecting and that. Hilliard, okay, that one there. For our plan on reopening, we did contact some schools. Jackie reached out to them today. Kickapoo did respond to us. They said they are not meeting till at least Tuesday to discuss options of possibly opening up weight rooms or what they're going to do. So everybody's kind of up in the air right now. So we really have nothing to go off of. We did purchase 3 misting machines with Hilliard. That will give us a spare. We will have 1 in every building. They're used for disinfecting. Does a good job, fine mist, does not get stuff wet and everything like that. It just works out good. Like I say, we'll have a spare now in case if something does break down.
Dog?
Yeah. Yep. We already kind of touched base about the old gym. The bulk sanitizer, we have not made any agreements on buying anything yet. We're still looking into that. Had a brief meeting today about it, possibilities, things that we could possibly do with that. We did get some roofing bids. Jackie reached out to several different companies on giving us roofing bids on fixing our roof, part of our long range plan. Everybody was either contacted or emailed, giving them specifics on what we were interested in, just to give us some budget numbers. We did get some good information back. So we added that on the long-term plan. LED lighting, we did get a very good bid from a company. They are the 3rd or 4th company, I think, that have gave us a bid or on our LED lighting upgrade and everything. It's great for the district. We could potentially save $17,000 a year just by upgrading everything over 25 years, what they kind of do. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's over $400,000 of savings. So I think that is something in the right direction. We kind of added that to our long-term plan too. We're looking at references for all of this and other information. And I just want to say thank you to all the staff with all of the COVID, everything that's been going on, everybody working together. Jackie, Jill, Mark, Tracy, Josh, everybody been doing a great job as far as the maintenance, as far as keeping everything clean, our summer maintenance and everything, the outdoors. We've actually had comments, people call about how nice the grasses look. Everybody's doing a great job. And that's all I have for my report this month.
Thanks, Guy.
Mr. Grunning, are you able to turn that camera on to you and share your report?
Can you hear me okay?
I can, but it's a little echoey.
I'll turn this one down. How about now? Good enough?
Yeah, that's better.
All righty. I can speak to the hardware issue they talked about. We had about 60 Chromebooks in reserve during the fourth quarter here that weren't checked out. Between library funds, special ed funds, and technology budget, we acquired another 50 Chromebooks. So basically, we have 110 Chromebooks in reserve that weren't checked out this round if we need to continue this at the beginning of the school year. We looked into the iPads. We're slowly bringing those in. A lot of the stuff you got to be very careful. For instance, webcams that I was paying $20 for a camera are now $60, and that's the premium you're paying for almost everything. We're looking for some laptops for some of our teachers to continue creating content, and everything that I want is unavailable at this time. They're just not out there, and if they are, we brought in some laptops. They increased the price now. Post-COVID is an additional $300 per laptop. So we're kind of waiting and seeing what we can do. The teachers are working. We had a really great meeting with Lower Elementary because I've been concerned because I just don't see how they can do it for pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Those are real tough ages to do remote learning. So I was worried about getting them the right equipment, and they're a pretty good staff. They're more focused on the content and producing content to be able to offer to the parents to work with the children and stuff like that. So they're coming up with some creative ways to make this all happen if it continues at the beginning of next year. Mr. Fulsang was correct. We've got a lot of teachers that are experimenting with GoPro-style cameras, recording videos, editing, doing a lot of things that are above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, they didn't sign on to be video producers. They signed on to be teachers in certain content areas, but we're pushing them to areas that weren't in their wheelhouse, but they're taking to it and doing some really impressive work. We had the teacher in service the last day of school with the teachers, and it was all done virtually. And the presenters came in, presented just like you're seeing here. We monitored the whole thing, and it was done real well. And then in the last half of the day, we had technology roundtables where people focused on Google Classroom. We focused on producing videos. We focused on screen capturing their content so they could bring up a screen, and then their webcam puts a little picture in the screen to talk to the students at the same time they're showing what they're working on. And then the teachers rotate from sessions to get experience, and then I kind of sat back and clicked in and out of all the different sessions to see what they're doing. It's impressive what these teachers have picked up in a very short period of time, and they're doing an excellent job. And they've been asked to do things that really, aren't in their wheelhouse, but they're taking it on. That's about all I have. Unless you have questions from the little squares in the room.
I think we're up. I think it's Lindsay or Tim or.
That would be the two of us, Tim, and maybe we can do this a little bit together.
Sure, absolutely.
One of them is graduation. Do you want to start with that, and I can add to it? They have an outline of what we have sent to our insurance company, to the Vernon County Sheriff's Department, as well as to Vernon County Health Department, which is a requirement that we have been directed to do by our school district attorney.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble hearing you there. You're kind of putting out for me, but I think what we want to do is we're trying to look at how do we carry out this graduation ceremony on July 10th. We did send out surveys to the parents of the seniors who are graduating seniors. We've had about a little bit less than half participate in the survey, so we did send out a reminder. We will have to, I think, follow as closely as possible, Mrs. Grotting, our recommendations from our health department, which is something we want to talk. I'll maybe let you bring that up, and then I can kind of get the assist in that one. I think one of the recommendations was to do it outdoors. And of course, anytime we do it outdoors, there are some concerns that we may have. So, Mrs. Grotting, I don't know if you want me to say any more, or you want me to kind of pass the ball out to you and let you take over for a bit. So.
That sounds fine, and maybe if you would mute your mic, we may not get some of the feedback. All right, so as you all know, we had a virtual tribute on May 22nd. We were very proud to present that to our graduating seniors, and we hope it was a meaningful program. One of the nicest comments I got came from a parent who said, well, will the in-person ceremony be any different? And actually, it will not be very different because we did our best that we could to parallel what the graduation ceremony would look like, with the introduction by Carter Steger, our student, with Pearl Sikora doing the class speech, with the different components, with Mrs. Bent giving the faculty speech. We tried to incorporate everything that they would have had in person, just in case in person couldn't happen. So we have scheduled July 10th based on feedback as the preferred date for the in-person ceremony. However, we have been directed that we need to ensure that we have the appropriate support for our plan from the entities that I mentioned earlier. The health department has reviewed our plan and made one additional suggestion that we do have a vocal performance that we consider just doing it by video only. I countered that with if we could have a live vocal performance, if we built a plexiglass stand that they could stand behind and made sure that they were very distant from any members of the graduating class or audience, would that be acceptable? And that has been approved. However, we have received information that our mask will not be something that is recommended but required. So those who are participating in the ceremony will be expected to wear a mask, as well as audience members. And that is because in the area we're seeing increasing numbers of COVID-19 diagnoses. So as the circumstances in the community change, the guidelines become something that also get more rigid in what the expectations are. So if we are to hold this on Friday, July 10th, our first priority will be to try to do the program outside, weather permitting. We will reduce the limit of the number of people who can participate as audience members. In our survey, we indicated it could be parents, and in lieu of parents not being in a child's life, then their guardian could come and their siblings. But we got feedback that people want more people to come. And that is not something that we can manage in an environment that would be supported to meet social distancing guidelines and safety precautions. We do know from other area schools that the Viroqua, Kickapoo, and Westby, for example, are providing the in-person ceremony with audience members of 2 or 3 per graduate student. And we are looking more at a number that would at least include parents, and in lieu of parents, guardians, and siblings. And so we think that our number is less restrictive, but however, it is a manageable number. So the guidelines we have to have in place are outside is first priority. Inside would be, if weather conditions wouldn't allow, 6-foot separation of any family pod groups, 6-foot separation of graduates as they prepare to be awarded their diploma, and masks would be required. And that if we have any singing presentation, that the singer be behind plexiglass. And in addition, when it is concluded that families do not gather together, that instead that they leave by maintaining social distancing as soon as the event is concluded. So Mr. Fergut, or I know Mrs. Moline was in on the conversation with the insurance company. Anything that I might have left out, please feel free to add.
Did you want to talk about the number that we considered?
Sure, that would be fine.
Yeah.
You're muted, Tim. Sorry.
Sorry. We went a little bit above and beyond what most schools were doing, as Mrs. Groning mentioned. We believe that 5 per family would be manageable, and I believe Mrs. Groning, you could talk about the specifics as to who those 5 could be within that group.
Again, those would be parents or guardians in lieu of parents and siblings. So again, you know, we sincerely hope that the virtual tribute was meaningful to our students, as well as the in-person ceremony fills the gap that they feel the virtual tribute did not successfully attain. We want our kids to have this opportunity. We know it's important to them and their families, but we ask for their understanding and acknowledgement that we are also governed to provide the safest possible environment, and that the only way to ensure complete safety is not to have the event at all. And so with that in mind, we ask that everyone who chooses to participate recognize that the safety protocols in place are those that we are being directed to have in order to provide this graduation ceremony. Are there any questions from board members?
Sounds good, thank you.
I would just take a second to share the screen again to take you to our website here. And as you're looking at the website, if it'll come up, there it is. You can see that Vin Buckner has ensured that we have not only the class of 2020 graduation video, but our 8th grade promotion video on there. So it's as simple as clicking on the link, and it will come up, and you can start playing the graduation ceremony, see the different components of it. And that's Mrs. Bent, the class speaker. Mrs. Boardman, as she was introducing the students, they came walking down the sidewalk. And we have the turning of the tassels that occurred there, the congratulations. We have some closing things too, but I was hoping that right there is the cap toss. And so you can see that Mr. Grunning had all of the graduates in place, and they tossed their caps simultaneously, and those went up. The 8th grade promotion, so very, very proud of those kids. They did an excellent job. Again, there's Mr. Crandall, who was a faculty speaker. We don't choose how it starts out, but we had certainly speeches by different students. We had acknowledgement for participations, Mr. Crandall's speech. We had students involved with providing the introductions for the different components and speakers there. And then some fun slides that the students created and closing speeches by our students. And then we acknowledge the different students as they were recognized for being promoted throughout the program. And very, very proud that our students participated in the aspects not only for the high school graduation, but for maintaining the 8th year tradition of providing an 8th grade promotion. So just very excited that those things occurred and glad to share it with the board as well. Mr. Ferget, I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you have anything else that you wanted to share for your report?
No, well, just a couple more things. We're working really hard, everybody, the administrators, teachers, in trying to get all of our students to close out the 2019-2020 school year by finishing all their coursework. Of course, we granted an extension to June 19th. And so we're hoping to have everybody caught up and move on to planning for the 2020-2021 school year. And then along with that, we're hoping to have our perspective scheduled out to students, or student perspective scheduled out for 2020-2021 school year here soon. So I think that's all. You did a good job covering everything else, so thank you.
I will add to that students who did not have all their work turned in so that teachers had enough evidence in which to pass them were given an incomplete, and were given 2 additional weeks to June 19th, as Mr. Ferget mentioned, to complete their coursework. If there are students who still need more time, we will enroll them in summer school so that they have additional teacher support. Though our teachers right now, last week and this week, have been doing Google Meets with students, trying to get their work caught up, but they can actually take until July 3rd through summer school to complete their 4th quarter and 2nd semester work. And so really, truly beyond the school year, they've had 5 more weeks to try to get their work caught up and get it turned in at passing levels, and working with our teachers who have maintained either email contacts or have met with them through Google Meets as requested by the students. So very appreciative of our teachers extending their work days into June to help students. And we just want everyone to know that they've had 5 more weeks to complete assignments than the end of the year.
Is there anything else?
I would like to come back in with this discussion. I'm not sure about what's in the board packet that I forgot to mention earlier. In your board packet, there's also a letter from the Department of Public Instruction, again highlighting that Stoddard Elementary received the Wisconsin Title I School of Recognition Award for high progress. And I know that this letter has come since our last school board meeting, even though we've announced it, but I just think that it did get the celebration that it truly deserved, with our one of our students, as well as some faculty attending Madison with that awesome award ceremony that typically happens. So we'll look forward to still celebrating with our students when they can return to school, but that is in your board packet. Sorry if I failed to mention that earlier.
Thank you. Anything else? Any items then, or correspondence?
The one additional correspondence is Bridging Brighter Smiles. You may look at that and go, wow, those numbers are lower than they have been in the past years. The reason they were lower is COVID-19 prevented that extra spring cleaning when they come in and do the screenings and cleanings and fluoride varnishes and treating teeth. So that is why the numbers are about half of what we would normally have expected. But we do believe that's an important service for our students and continue to support that and thank the board for making sure that that's offered. That would be it for me.
Are there any items for the July meeting that people want on the agenda? If not, I'd ask-
I would
What?
just mention that we had originally thought we would have the July meeting at one of the elementary schools. And again, due to the road construction and the constraints of social distancing, we will still have the virtual meetings here at DeSoto Middle School, High School next month.
Okay, now I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Motion by Kevin to adjourn, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good night.
I will stop